Kristen Wells, and this is my international speech titled The Reality of Climate Change. If you're like me, you don't lay awake at night worrying about climate change. Most of us don't think it's a huge deal. But according to Jeffrey James, in his article titled, "In U.S., most do not see global warming as a huge threat," he states that 65% of Americans believe global warming is currently happening, but only 36% predict it will be a serious threat to their way of life. These statistics are interesting because climate change has already begun to affect everyone, including you and me. Climate change is shifting all over the world, and humans are the #1 contributor to this change. In addition to the research I have done on this subject, I have also taken an environmental science course in a landscaping and greenhouse management class where I learned a lot about the changes of climate. I will talk about global warming and its difference in climate change in the beginning, and then I will talk about the change that humans have had on this subject, and then I will end by talking about the indicators that show that climate change is happening all over the world. So, although most people think that global warming and climate change are the same thing, they are slightly different. Global warming is a subcategory of climate change because it only refers to the temperature of the Earth and doesn't refer to everything else. So global warming only is one aspect of climate change, and climate change can include all different kinds of things that are happening on the Earth. Jeff Grant states in 2009 in his article titled, "What is the difference between global warming and climate change?" that the average temperature is global and climate is local, and involves not just average temperature, but also other factors that vary, such as humidity, cloudiness, rain, and snow. This means that one place on the Earth could be experiencing rain, and another could be experiencing drought, like here in West Texas. So we cannot say that global warming is not happening just because one place is cooler and is receiving extra rain. I used to think that global warming was not happening just because summers here were not getting hotter and hotter every year. But after my research, I've realized that this is not the case. So now you might be wondering why the change in climate is more drastic now than it used to be in the past. The increase in how fast the climate has been changing is partially due to the carbon emissions that have been released into the atmosphere over the past couple of centuries. Throughout history, the climate has been changing naturally, and this is something that is normal for Earth to do, and has been happening for thousands of years. This graph shown by NASA shows that the trends are somewhat steady from before 1950, but once it hits 1950, it is increased drastically. According to Christopher Keating, in his article titled Global Warming in 2013, he states that a greenhouse gas is any atmospheric gas that absorbs infrared radiation, preventing it from being radiated back into space. And examples include carbon dioxide, water vapor, and methane. He also states that a greenhouse effect is the net accumulation of heat held in the atmosphere as thermal energy by certain gases. The Environmental Protection Agency states that greenhouse gases act as a blanket around Earth. This is because the molecules that I stated above attract more energy towards the Earth and prevent it from being able to cool off. The EPA also stated that 60% of greenhouse gas emissions released in the atmosphere are carbon dioxide, as shown in this pie graph. This is a result of the use of fossil fuels that we all use every day. To my surprise, this was first predicted in 1967. Otto Mueller reported in his article titled "The Greenhouse Effect is First Predicted" in 2003 that Cicero Manabee and Richard Weatherford first concluded that global warming atmospheric temperatures are much more sensitive to carbon dioxide than shown in previous studies. Even though these predictions became true, people of that age did not understand what global warming was, so they did not believe these statistics. So now we must ask ourselves, how do we know that the climate is changing more than normal? There are many indicators that prove that climate is changing more drastically than it would have on its own. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, known as NASA, has done lots of research and trends in this specific area of climate. They have recorded many statistics throughout history, especially in the 19th and 20th century, all the way up to today. This information is found in the article titled Global Climate Change, Key Indicators. I will now show charts for each category and explain how climate has changed. The first is carbon dioxide concentration. This is a greenhouse gas which has been increasing steadily over the past few years, and humans have contributed to this change through deforestation, the increase in fossil fuels, and respiration. The second is global surface temperature, also known as global warming. The increase was only slight before 1950, but after 1950 it has increased drastically. The third result of climate change is Arctic sea ice, which has been decreasing by 11.5% every decade. This graph shows the average monthly Arctic sea extent from satellites. And you can see that 2012 is definitely the lowest year. The fourth is land ice, which shows the loss of ice mass from Antarctica and Greenland. It shows that 24 cubic miles of ice are lost each year since 2002. And these statistics are also shown from satellites. And the last is sea level, which has been steadily increasing since the same time of the melting of ice. And this is due to the melting of ice and also the warming of the ocean's temperature. All of this evidence goes to show how humans have impacted the way that the climate is changing. These indicators prove that humans have definitely sped up the process to some extent. I'm not saying that we are destroying the earth or the world is coming to an end, but we definitely are impacting the way the atmosphere has been over the past few years. We need to understand that what we're doing now has consequences for the future. And I think it is our responsibility and job to take care of this place that we have been blessed with and that we call home. Thank you.